In my past life, I was reborn alongside Willow. I was the younger brother she personally chose from the orphanage and later became her husband, loving each other until old age. In this life, when the Liu family parents beckoned me forward as they had in the past, the young Willow stopped them. Dad, Mom, I don't want him anymore. I want this boy to be my younger brother. She pulled up the boy beside me, the adopted son of the Wong family who had died early in the previous life. Her gaze toward me was icy. You stole Makoto's life and caused his tragic death. In this life, it's your turn to taste the hell he went through. In that instant, I understood. So this time, she wanted to play the holy savior of the prince. Child, will you come with me? I looked at Madame Wong who was standing before me. Then I looked at the figure of the person who had once accompanied me for decades, leaving resolutely with that boy. I nodded. That's fine. In this life, I also want to try a different way of living. Chapter 1. When I walked out of the orphanage, the Liu family had not yet left. Upon seeing me, Willow quickly pushed the boy into the car, glaring viciously at me. George, even if you kneel and beg me, I won't take you with me. The Liu family does not welcome you. A thief like you deserves to stay with the man-eating Wong family. She shoved me hard, then slammed the car door shut. I staggered and hadn't steadied myself, yet when the Liu family convoy had already sped away. The exhaust stirred up a whirlwind of dust so fierce that I could barely open my eyes. A black Maybach stopped right in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing Madame Wong's cold face. She asked me, "Do you want to go to the Liu family?" I shook my head. The Wong family is fine. Madame Wong was slightly stunned. She cast me a sidelong glance and asked, "What's your name?" I answered softly, "George. From now on, you'll be George Wong." Her words were brief, but I understood what she meant. I quickly got into the car, obediently saying, "Okay, Mom." Madame Wong raised an eyebrow but said nothing more, leaning back against the seat and closing her eyes to rest. I wisely stayed silent as well. The car drove into the Wong family's villa. I followed Madame Wong inside. She set her bag down, then casually lifted her gaze as if addressing someone unseen. "Alicia, this is your new younger brother, George." I froze for a moment. Instinctively, I looked up. There, on the second-floor railing, stood a girl with a face even more beautiful than Willow's. So beautiful it felt unreal. Who knows how long she had been watching from there? I was a little stunned. So this was Wong family's Alicia. In my previous life, not long after I was adopted into the Liu family, Alicia had been sent abroad by the Wongs. I saw her again. It was many years later. By then, she had already inherited the Wong family, but her beauty had been ruined. With her hideous face and iron-blooded methods, the business world mockingly called her the female king of hell. I curved my eyes into a smile and greeted her, "Sister." But Alicia acted as if she hadn't heard me, still leaning lazily against the railing, her expression cold and distant. "Don't mind her, she doesn't like to talk," Madame Wong said, then called for the butler to show me around before leaving. As I was about to step out of the hall with the butler, for some reason, I turned my head back, and I happened to meet the lifeless, deathly still gaze of that girl. My heart skipped a beat. Before my smile could appear, Alicia had already withdrawn her gaze, turning back into her room. Chapter 2. I had been living in the Wong family for more than a month. After that first day at the orphanage, I never saw Madame Wong again. Instead, it was Alicia I occasionally ran into at the dining table. Each time, I would sweetly call out, "Sister," but she never once responded. I didn't mind, though, because I was far too busy. Even if Madame Wong didn't show up, my schedule was packed full under her etiquette classes, language classes, business knowledge, horseback riding lessons, and now it happened to be summer vacation. Every day I studied from morning until night, with barely a chance to rest my feet. Even the housemaid Zara looked at me with pity when she saw me covered in bruises from falling off the horse. "Young master, do you want me to tell Madam so you can take a day off today?" Putting on my shoes, I shook my head. No need. When Madame Wong first took me home, she had said, "Children of the Wong family are destined to be the best, even if you are only an adopted son." Zara sighed, handing me my school bag. "The young master of the Liu family next door doesn't have to work this hard." "Why? They've been lively all morning. I heard the whole family is preparing to go abroad for vacation during the holidays." I knew Zara said this to defend me, thinking I wasn't enjoying the childhood fun I should have at this age. I stood up, took the bag. And Zara, I'm not tired. I want to learn. Perhaps in others' eyes, the Wong family was hell, but to me, it was not. The Wong family was an old aristocratic clan. Its heritage and resources far surpassed those of nouveau riche families like the Liu's. Here, I could grow better. Even though the Wong clan had complicated ties, even though the Wong family didn't acknowledge me, even though Madame Wong was picky and cold, and even though Alicia was indifferent and distant, I was still lost in thought when a little snow-white kitten suddenly darted to my feet. Right after came an angry, frustrated voice. You've mistaken the person. Come back quickly, sis. Hurry and help me get Xiao Guai back, foolish little brother. I stood up, holding the kitten in my arms, and just then, my gaze met that of a smiling girl walking toward me, her face full of indulgent affection. It was Willow. Chapter 3. When Willow saw me, the smile on her face froze. Her brows lowered, and her gaze instantly filled with disgust. You actually followed me here like a ghost that won't leave. She sneered, her malice undisguised. Do you really think that by waiting here, I'll soften my heart? Dream on, George. Makoto's delighted voice cut in, interrupting her. He stepped forward to me happily saying, How great. I didn't expect to see you here after leaving the orphanage. Is that car waiting for you? He took the kitten from me, then curiously glanced at the car parked not far behind me. At that sight, his face turned pale in an instant. George, you actually got adopted by the Wong family next door? Just as I was about to answer, my eyes accidentally fell on the string of keys around his wrist, and I froze for a moment. Makoto noticed my gaze. Unnaturally, he pulled down his sleeve to cover the bracelet. I pretended not to notice, nodded, and said, Yes, by the Wongs. So now your surname is Wong, and you're George Wong. I glanced at Willow, whose face was full of embarrassment from misunderstanding the situation. Yes. Are the people of the Wong family really that scary? I heard that Wong family's young lady is mentally ill and even mute. Is that true? He pointed mysteriously toward the Wong estate, throwing out one question after another. I frowned. Just as I was about to refute him, Makoto didn't give me the chance. George, are you learning shooting now? He tilted his head, looking at the riding and archery outfit I was wearing. Yes, but I still have things to do. I was thinking about finding an excuse to leave when Willow impatiently interrupted. Makoto, what's the point of talking to someone like him? Let's go. Makoto responded with an "oh," scratching the back of his head. Don't mind her. My sister isn't usually like this. She's very gentle. I don't know what's gotten into her today. Sis, wait for me. He ran after her. I stood still for a moment, then turned away too. Behind me, the wind carried fragments of their conversation into my ears. Sis, the Wong family is too strict. George is the same age as me, but he has to attend lessons every single day. I saw him covered in bruises from falling. How pitiful. Humph. What's the use of learning all that? Some people just aren't destined to enjoy a good life. Our Makoto in this life only needs to live happily like a little prince. The son of the Liu family doesn't need to suffer like that. Dad, Mom, and Sis are all the best. Suffering, is that so? So the Liu family thought of effort as suffering. I pulled at the corner of my lips. In my previous life, the Liu parents did dote on me endlessly, but they never approved of me learning any skill. When I wanted to learn horseback riding and archery, they opposed. How could that be? What if you fall and scar yourself? Which noble young lady would still want you then? When I was bullied and wanted to learn some martial arts, they rejected me again. Why would a young master need to learn that himself? The Liu family has bodyguards. No one can bully you. Later, when I wanted to study business and finance, they also said, Why study so much? Your elder sister in the Liu family is enough. On the surface, it looked like unlimited indulgence. In truth, they had raised me into a useless man who could only rely on the Liu family. But Madame Wong would tell me instead, children of the Wong family must learn everything, must fight for everything. Chapter 4. Summer vacation passed in the blink of an eye. Soon, the new school term began. Madame Wong had already transferred me to the same international school as Alicia, the very same school that Willow and I had attended in my previous life. On the first day of school, I sat early in the car. When Alicia opened the door, I greeted her with a bright smile. Good morning, sister. Mom said from now on we'll be going to school together. Alicia's movement paused for a second. Then, without a word, She sat in the farthest seat away from me. The next day, I tried the same thing, the third day, the fourth day, and so it continued for 2 months. Unexpectedly, I discovered that although Alicia never once responded to me, sometimes when I was late for breakfast and rushed out of the villa, I would find Alicia still waiting by the car with her school bag on her back. Suppressing my surprise, I curved my lips into a smile. "Sister, you're so kind." At such times, Alicia would do as always, cast me a faint glance, then turn her head away without a word as she got into the car. Only this time, when she stepped into the car, she led with her right foot first. The corner of my lips lifted higher. Such a small change, yet such a good one. That day, after school, I waited for a long time by the teaching building, but Alicia never came out. Her contact information didn't work either. Just as I grew anxious, a sudden thought flashed through my mind. I remembered in my previous life, around this time, something major had happened at the school gates. Back then, I had been buried in study, trying to catch up with the pace of the international school. I vaguely overheard classmates excitedly discussing that someone had come to make trouble for the Wong family. It was said that one of their children had gotten into serious trouble. Many years later, I accidentally heard people mention that Alicia, the Wong family CEO, had once been maliciously disfigured during high school. Could it be today? If that's true, no, this is bad. There's no time. I snapped back to my senses and quickly sent a message to the driver telling him that if he didn't see me at the school gate, he should come look for us directly. Then I dashed toward the alley behind the school. "Alicia, please don't let anything happen." Chapter 5. When I arrived, Alicia was being cornered against the wall by a group of flashy-looking delinquent girls with 2 or 3 street punks among them. So Miss Wong really is a mute. No matter how much we mess with her, she won't even scream. A mute won't tattle on us, or do you want the Wong family causing us trouble? Damn it, this bitch still dares to glare at us with a face like that? She was born a seductress. One girl, clearly a student, spat on the ground, then pulled out a utility knife and slashed it toward Licia's face. My heart tightened. Out of the corner of my eye, I spotted a baseball bat on the ground. I took a deep breath, braced myself, then charged forward shouting, "I've already called the police." I rushed into the group, wildly swinging the bat. At that moment, I was grateful for the recent physical training lessons I had taken seriously. These people weren't prepared, and I managed to send them scattering in panic, and because I said I had called the police, they hesitated. Damn it, this bitch got lucky. Cursing, they started to back off. When they finally left, I hurried over to check on Alicia. There was still a cut on her face, though thankfully it wasn't deep, but her arms and legs were covered with injuries. "Sister, hold on a little longer. I'll take you home." I helped Alicia up, ready to leave, but suddenly with brutal force, I was kicked to the ground. "Damn it, Maria. I told you this brat was lying. He never called the cops. You little bastard, still wet behind the ears and already learning to lie. A mute and a liar. What a perfect pair. Ha ha ha." The one called Maria spewed curses nonstop, kicking me hard in the back again and again. The pain made me bow my head. But in doing so, I met Alicia's terrified gaze. Trembling, I forced a smile and whispered to comfort her. "Sister, don't be afraid." Alicia's eyes froze in shock. I shielded her, refusing to back away even half a step. Behind me, the fist struck down harder, full of fury. Just as the next blow was about to land, Alicia, who had been silent and passive all along, suddenly moved. She lunged at the nearest attacker, biting her hand with a crazed desperation. Her sudden frenzy stunned Maria and the others for a few seconds, but being outnumbered, she was still forced down. Several fists pounded violently on her head and body, while someone pulled out an iron rod. So, was it still impossible to change the ending? Just as despair flooded my heart, voices and footsteps came from outside the alley. Was it the driver? I forced my eyes open, desperately hoping, and in my vision, a pair of white sneakers appeared. Chapter 6. The owner of the shoe stood at the entrance of the alley, silhouetted against the light. Maria and her gang immediately glared viciously. "You little bitch, what are you staring at?" A girl, not the driver. I forced my eyes wide open, trying to see who it was, but the blood clouded my vision. I couldn't make her out. Just then, a voice called from afar. "Willow, sis. Why are you standing there? The strawberry cake shop is this way." The person was silent for a moment. Coming." I blinked my dry eyes, whispering faintly, "Sister." Her steps paused, but in the end she never looked back, only pulling the boy along as they slowly walked away. The boy, unable to hold back his curiosity, peeked toward the alley, then screamed in fright. Sis, it looks like someone's hurt over there. Did you see?" The next second, his eyes were covered. "Don't look, it's filthy." Willow's voice was soft. From far away, I seemed to hear her murmur, "Little Makoto, in this life, I found you early. I'll protect your purity. You won't ever suffer at the hands of the Wong family again or meet such a tragic end." In a daze, I remembered her final moments in my past life, when she kept whispering over and over, "It's all my fault. If only I had found you earlier." I had thought she was talking about the time I was kidnapped and maimed while protecting her from her business enemies. I had even choked out comfort. "Willow, as long as you're by my side, I'm fine. In the next life, let's still be together." But now I understood. Her regret from the past life had nothing to do with me. What haunted her was that because she was with me, the days she hadn't saved Makoto in time. So in this life, she chose to keep him by her side, shielded from everything. She hadn't come here today to save me. She just wanted to see with her own eyes how I, the so-called thief who stole her true love's life, would be beaten in his place. But in my past life, I vaguely recalled classmates saying that after both Wong children were harmed, Alicia was sent abroad, yet Makoto was not allowed to go with her, and his standing in the Wong family declined sharply. One boy who knew the inside story had carefully mentioned it that day. He saw Makoto abandon Alicia. Alicia risked her life to protect him, but Makoto ran without even looking back. But Willow seemed to firmly believe that her Makoto was the victim. Hey, so Willow truly believed Makoto was pure and kind. I let out a faint laugh, wiped the blood from my eyes, then dragged myself up and clung desperately to one attacker's leg. No matter how hard he kicked me, cursed me, I refused to let go. "Don't you dare hurt my sister." Until at last, when I could no longer breathe, the world before my eyes was swallowed in darkness. Chapter 7. When I woke up, there was a dark head resting by my bedside. The pungent smell of disinfectant made me realize I was in a hospital. So the driver must have arrived in time with help. I tried to sit up. Maybe the movement was too loud, because it stirred Alicia awake. She opened her beautiful peach blossom eyes and stared at me without blinking. After a long while, she lifted her hand and gently touched the bandage on my forehead. "Brother, does it hurt?" It seemed she hadn't spoken for a very, very long time. Her voice was a little hoarse, but not unpleasant. In fact, it was quite beautiful. Still, I froze in shock. Alicia actually spoke to me. It wasn't just me who was stunned. Even Madame Wong, who happened to push open the door at that moment, looked utterly disbelieving. Did Ollie just speak? She lost her usual composure. "Ollie, say something to Mom too, okay?" But Alicia only glanced at her, then turned her head back to stare at my wound, refusing to say another word. I felt awkward, wanting to comfort, but not knowing how. "Mom, just now, sister," Madame Wong shook her head, eyes red. "It's fine, little by little. Ollie just needs time." She didn't go on. Behind her, Zara entered at the right moment with a lunchbox. During lunch, Zara told us that the alley incident had been investigated. It turned out to be nothing more than a group of street thugs who had heard the Wong family was wealthy and set their sights on them. Shockingly, one of them was even a fellow student. Those adults would not escape prison time, and the student had already been expelled. I nodded, my gaze falling on Alicia, who was quietly eating. Who would have thought in my previous life, just because of the wicked whim of those street scum, such a beautiful person had been dragged into the abyss? Fortunately, in this life, she was safe. Alicia noticed I hadn't touched my food and looked at me strangely. "Brother, eat." I came back to myself, picking up some food for her instead. "Sister, you eat too." No sooner had we finished eating than a nurse rushed in and dragged Alicia away. Only then did I learn she had sneaked over from another ward. Before leaving, she reached out and patted my head. "Brother, get well soon." Just a few simple words, yet they moved the Wong family members present to tears. Even Zara secretly wiped her eyes. Alicia left, but Madame Wong didn't. She stood where she was, watching the back of Alicia as she walked away. Without her makeup today, the sharpness she usually carried seemed to vanish, leaving her looking much gentler. Alicia wasn't always like this. She used to be thoughtful, steady, more outstanding than many her age. Back then, everyone praised her as a genius girl, not a mute, not autistic. She sat beside me, her eyes brimming with tears. It all changed because of that accident 4 years ago. I froze. Chapter 8. Madame Wong told me Alicia once had a younger brother, Luis. Luis was the son of Wong father's younger brother. After Wong father and his brother, along with both their wives, died in an accident early on, the entire Wong family business had been left for Madame Wong to shoulder alone. Luis was also taken in by her and raised as her own son. That period had been hard for the Wong family. Without Wong father, the Wongs were like a slab of exposed fat. Everyone wanted to take a bite. Madame Wong had no choice but to harden her heart, becoming more ruthless, naturally making many enemies. 4 years ago, the Wong children were kidnapped. 6-year-old Luis saw his sister being beaten and rushed forward, biting the kidnapper's hand with all his strength, refusing to let go. But the enraged thug struck him again and again on the head with a heavy stick. Alicia witnessed the entire scene with her own eyes. After being rescued, she never smiled again and never spoke again. No matter what Madame Wong tried, it was useless. In desperation, on a friend's suggestion, she decided to adopt another younger brother to see if it might help. Madame Wong rose and walked toward the window. She said, "I wasn't the first one she had brought home. Ollie hasn't been this close to anyone in a long time. She really likes you." Chapter 9. A week later, I was discharged from the hospital and returned to the Wong household. The people around me treated me differently now. If before, they had seen me as a dependable foster son, someone who could be sent away at any time, then now they regarded me as a true young master of the Wong family. My lessons did not lessen because of this. In fact, there were even more. In Madame Wong's. In the future, if you want to enter the Wong Corporation, how will you convince people without real ability? The surrounding Wong family members were stunned when they heard this. Their eyes on me carried both weariness and scrutiny. I had no time to dwell on it. My eyes darted nervously to Alicia. I feared she would be upset about this. But what I saw instead was her resting her chin on her hand, stammering out, "Brother, don't be afraid. You're the best." Looking into Alicia's bright, shining eyes, my own grew damp. I nodded hard. Madame Wong's gaze also softened. "Ollie must also work hard. Otherwise, if George surpasses you, you'll have to rely on your brother to protect you." "No." At once, Alicia shot to her feet, anxious. "I will protect my brother." She even performed a set of punches right there on the spot. Ever since that incident at school, Alicia had been studying martial arts even more diligently. I exchanged a glance with Madame Wong, and both of us couldn't help but laugh. Looking at Alicia's flustered expression, I curved my lips into a smile. Madame Wong had once said, "Ollie is lucky to have you." But in this life, coming to the Wong family, wasn't it also my own fortune? Chapter 10. Time flew by. With the Wong family's dedicated cultivation, I became the model child spoken of by many parents. On the school's honor board, my name would occasionally appear alongside Alicia's, who was in a higher grade. In contrast, Makoto, who had been a top student in my previous life, was too busy playing to ever make the list once. As for Willow, who had been a poor student in both lives, there was even less to say. Since the relationship between the Wong and Liu families was already distant, it seemed as though in this life, Willow and I were destined never to cross paths again. Only on rare occasions, while glancing at the results board, would I catch Willow in the corner of my eye, standing behind the crowd, her gaze shadowy and unreadable. "Sis, what are you staring at over there? Our names aren't even on that board," Makoto asked, his face full of confusion. "It's nothing." By the time I looked back, she was already pulling Makoto away. In times like these, I turned 18 and was about to take the National College Entrance Examination. And Alicia, she had accepted the invitation of a foreign school 3 years earlier. Now she was studying abroad. On the day of my college entrance exam, no matter how many times I refused, Alicia still abandoned her projects, flying back overnight just to be with me. My brother's matters are the most important. I couldn't resist her and gave in. After finishing the final subject, I walked out of school. From afar, I saw Alicia leaning gracefully against a car, dressed in a white sundress. Her radiant face drew countless stares from those around. So much for keeping a low profile. Indeed, wherever Alicia was, commotion followed. She was no longer the ridiculed mute girl of the past. Now, with her aura of pure elegance, she could make boys blush just by passing by. I hurried over and urged her. Sis, let's go quickly. Though puzzled, Alicia obediently took my school bag. Coming to pick you up makes you unhappy? I had no time to explain, so I quickly nudged her into the car. No, it's just, we have that gathering with our friends, right? If we're late, they'll complain. We had arranged to meet with childhood friends to celebrate my sister's return and the end of my college entrance exam. Chapter 11. After the party, someone suggested we head to the racetrack for a few laps. Since Alicia and I had nothing else to do, we joined in. At the track, a small entertainment race was already underway. Who's the winner? One of our friends looked up at the big screen, then exclaimed in surprise. Willow. She's back in the country too. And racing? Does she even know how? Willow's grades had always been average. Back then, like Alicia, she didn't take the college entrance exams. The difference was, she had gone abroad for a watered-down degree. Still, as the Liu family's future heiress, she was well known, and in an instant, all eyes turned toward her. Almost as if to answer our doubt, a flamboyant red race car sped across the finish line. The girl stepped out of the vehicle, squinting as she basked in the cheers of the crowd. Years had passed since I last saw her. The youthful softness had faded, and she looked more and more like that version of her from my previous life. Her personality had always been flamboyant. From the family seats, a boy in a black track suit rushed out, grabbing her and planting a kiss on her cheek. Willow, sis, you're gorgeous. Their relationship was obvious. In my previous life, as the Liu family's foster son in name, my relationship with Willow had met with constant obstacles. But this time, I didn't know how Willow had persuaded the Liu parents. Makoto had not been acknowledged as the Liu family's adopted son. Instead, to the outside world, he was simply described as a friend's child temporarily living with them. Looking at it now, that was quite the careful arrangement. At this moment, the pairing of a handsome young man and a stunning heiress ignited the scene even further. One of our friends clicked his tongue. Looks like the Liu family booked out this place. Let's go change venues. I withdrew my gaze and was about to leave with the group, but a commotion stirred ahead. Hand in hand, Willow and Makoto were surrounded by a crowd as they walked over. The two groups suddenly collided. Unprepared, Willow's gaze swept past the crowd and landed on me. For a brief moment, a flash of amazement lit her eyes. She froze, then as if on instinct to avoid suspicion, quickly released Makoto's hand. Sis, Makoto protested unhappily, calling out, then turned to glare at me. George, what are you doing here? His eyes swept over me viciously. After not seeing me for some time, his gaze was suddenly full of hostility. Just as I wondered at this change, he continued, or could it be you heard Willow was back and came here on purpose to watch her race? At those words, Willow's expression shifted slightly. Her eyes slid casually over me, as though saying, so it really is like that. I was speechless. Did she really think I was that bored? Alicia frowned as well. She stepped forward, blocking me with her small frame, which seemed to radiate an unshakable force. Willow's eyes darkened at Alicia's protective gesture. At last, she spoke. Her tone was calm. George, Makoto speaks bluntly. Don't take it to heart. Sis. Makoto refused to relent, raising his voice. Why are you being so polite to him? Who knows if he's deliberately following you around? Makoto. Enough. Willow interrupted softly, but her eyes again drifted unconsciously to me, standing beside Alicia. Even if it's true, you should at least spare him some dignity. And in that moment, she was stunned. After several years apart, she realized I had changed greatly. The bearing I carried from the Wong family's upbringing was something Makoto, the spoiled young master, could never compare to. I said coldly, Miss Liu, keep your precious brother in check. Don't let him bite at everyone he sees. Chapter 12. Among our group of friends, someone scoffed at the Liu siblings' behavior. George came here with Alicia to celebrate finishing the college entrance exams, not to watch some little child's play entertainment race like yours. The sarcasm was sharp. What do you mean by that? Makoto's eyes widened at once. Willow just won first place, and you dare call it child's play? Willow's face darkened. She had always been proud and arrogant. Having just basked in the cheers of victory, it was inevitable she'd bristle at mockery. Miss Wong, she said, her gaze fixed directly on Alicia while ignoring everyone else. It's rare to run into you here. That last race wasn't much fun. Interested in going around with me? Alicia frowned and was about to step forward, but I caught her arm and shook my head. I didn't want her tangled up with Willow. Seeing this, Willow sneered. Afraid? Then forget it. The Wong family's heiress is nothing special after all. Pure provocation. The air seemed to freeze. Our friends looked grim, but none dared speak up for Alicia. They all knew she hadn't touched a race car in years. My own face stayed calm. As I released her hand, Alicia lifted her own instead, and just like when we were children, ruffled my hair. Do you want to see your sister win? I nodded with a smile. Sis, you can do it. Alicia turned toward the racetrack, not even sparing Willow a glance. Willow had never been ignored like that. Her face grew dark enough to drip ink. Putting on an act, she spat out the words through gritted teeth, stalking off toward her own red car on the track. The starting gun fired. Willow's signature red car shot forward like lightning, leaving Alicia's black car behind. The roar of the engines was deafening. Some people should just stick to being obedient little bookworms. Makoto smirked at me. And if that doesn't work out, marry someone early instead of pretending to be what you're not. It's only just started. What are you so smug about? I replied coldly. Falling behind from the very beginning. And you think she can catch up to my sister? Don't make me laugh. The crowd echoed his jeers. Our friends were furious, but powerless to refute. I simply watched the track quietly, saying nothing, until at a high-speed curve, the black car broke late with textbook precision, slid through the corner, and overtook the red car, crossing the finish line first. The racetrack fell silent. Makoto was silent too. Then, from the crowd, someone whispered in hesitation, "That cornering technique. It looked familiar. Isn't that just like last year's Triple Crown champion, Godvi?" She spoke softly, as if afraid to believe it. My face remained calm, without much expression. Alicia had won the International Youth Cup at the age of 11, hailed as a prodigy racer. Even with the break in between, she had long since regained her skill. And last year, she had swept all 3 major championships. Alicia always kept a low profile, never revealing her face. Few had ever seen her true appearance. Now Alicia pushed open her car door, walked straight to me, and held out her hand. "Brother, let's go home, okay?" I smiled and took her hand. Behind us came Makoto's fumbling attempts at comfort and Willow's face twisted with fury. Chapter 13. In the blink of an eye, the college entrance exam results were released. I was the top scorer in the entire province. I wasn't surprised, but Madame Wong and Alicia were overjoyed. They said once the university admission letter arrived, they would take me on a trip abroad. I replied that I still had many lessons unfinished. Alicia frowned. "George, you're wound too tightly. You need to go out and relax." Madame Wong added, "No matter what happens, the Wong family will always be your support. Do you understand?" I froze for a moment and suddenly realized. Ever since my rebirth, I had been pushing myself too hard. The truth was, not being chosen firmly by Willow this time had hurt me far deeper than I had imagined. So I had driven myself almost harshly, desperate to earn the Wong family's recognition, afraid of being abandoned again. Looking at the 2 pairs of eyes filled with concern before me, a warmth spread through my chest, and in the end, I yielded to them. The day we set out for the airport, we ran into the Liu family. The atmosphere around them was heavy. The Liu parents' faces were grim. Willow's expression was cool and detached. Makoto followed beside her sullenly, uncharacteristically silent. "Makoto cheated in the exams," Madame Wong remarked lightly, withdrawing her gaze. "His results were cancelled, and now the Liu family has become a laughingstock among the elites. They're embarrassed, so they're rushing to send him abroad before the semester starts, hoping to smooth things over." I was a little shocked. Had Makoto gone mad? What was he thinking to dare something so reckless with his situation? Wouldn't it have been enough to just quietly go abroad and buy a degree? Why take such a risk? Why disgrace the Liu family? I shook my head, unwilling to think further. What did it have to do with me? As I boarded, I felt a gaze fall on me. I turned my head to search and saw Willow not far away. Caught off guard, she froze for a moment, her eyes complicated. "Congratulations, top scorer of the college entrance exam." "Thanks." I turned back indifferently. Willow stood stunned again, then lifted her foot, anxious to follow. "George." But Makoto grabbed her tightly, glaring at me with venom. Sis, he doesn't even care to acknowledge you. Let go. But Willow wouldn't listen. She shoved Makoto aside with force. Makoto stumbled to the ground, and years of pent-up resentment burst out. He couldn't understand the sister who had always doted on him. Why had she grown so cold to him recently? Are you regretting it now? But it was you who didn't want him first. His words rooted Willow's feet to the ground. When it was my turn in line, I didn't look back. I followed the Wong family through the boarding gate. Hawaii, here we come. Chapter 14. Day by day, time passed. I entered university. I absorbed new knowledge constantly and gradually learned how to transform and harness the resources at my disposal. By my sophomore year, I had begun to form my own research team. Each member was outstanding, no less capable than myself. To support me, Madame Wong entrusted me with full control of a smaller subsidiary under the Wong Group. Our very first project achieved excellent results, pushing the subsidiary to a higher level. The subsequent research breakthroughs allowed the subsidiary to catch up to the parent company several times. As a rising star in business, I began to enter the public eye. By the time I graduated, Alicia had returned to the country and formally entered Wong Group headquarters. Many waited eagerly to see a clash between the Wong family's eldest daughter and the foster son. They assumed that Alicia stepping directly into headquarters and me inheriting only a subsidiary would inevitably lead to dissatisfaction. But I had none. Instead, I fully supported Alicia. With both my and Madame Wong's backing, along with Alicia's own extraordinary ability, she quickly gained a firm foothold. At the same time, Wong Group released a statement. The subsidiary under my control would henceforth separate from the Wong conglomerate and be renamed Orange Cat Group. That night, fireworks lit up the sky from the Orange Cat headquarters rooftop. Standing beside me, Alicia said, "George, remember this. Wong Group will always be Orange Cat's support." Not necessarily. I laughed, teasing her. Who knows, maybe one day Orange Cat will be Wong Group's support. Sis. Alicia smiled as well. Yes, my brother is the best. I turned my head, gazing out at the neon city below, and lifted the corner of my lips. This was my deal with Madame Wong. Orange Cat was mine, and in return, I would always support Alicia. Just a subsidiary? I thought you might want something else, perhaps half of Wong Group. That day, Madame Wong had raised an eyebrow. Who knows, maybe even I would agree. No, I had shaken my head. What I want is something that belongs to me alone, wholly and completely to George. In 2 lifetimes, I had learned one truth. Only what I held firmly in my own hands was truly under my control. Chapter 15. As an outstanding graduate, I was invited by my alma mater to represent the school in a mounted archery competition. To me, such a contest was nothing more than a rare moment of relaxation amid my busy work life. Unsurprisingly, I won the championship with ease. As I stepped down from the podium, the school staff surrounded me. Over and over again, it took some effort to slip free. But just then, someone called out to me. George. Willow had arrived as well. This was the first time we met since her return to inherit the Lu Corporation. Ignoring the sullen Makoto beside her, she walked up to me, her eyes carrying something almost nostalgic. You've become even more outstanding. In her eyes was admiration, loss, and regret. I suddenly felt that expression was familiar. In my previous life, I had accompanied her to a banquet. Makoto, the Wong family's foster son, had gone on stage to play a famous piece on the piano, and back then, she had looked at him with the exact same expression. For a moment, I almost laughed. Even after living another lifetime, Willow's tastes hadn't changed. He always admired what she could not have. Looking at the disappointed woman before me, I nodded politely in greeting, but my steps did not pause. She wouldn't let me go, blocking my path. Her expression shadowed. If I said we could start over again, you could still be my brother and also my husband. I was baffled. Was she taking herself too seriously? I cut her off coldly. I don't understand what you're saying. If Miss Lu has so much free time, she'd better worry about Lu Corporation instead. Willow's face darkened instantly. From what I knew, Lu Corporation had recently fallen into crisis, with its stock prices plummeting. In my previous life, the same disaster had struck Lu Corporation. For the sake of pride, Willow had refused to bow to others. Back then, I had pleaded with Alicia, the so-called Queen of Hell in the business world, on the strength of our meager childhood bond, and only then secured her help. In this life, born Willow had indeed planned ahead, but unfortunately Lu's foundation had long since rotted away. This time, without Wong Group's support, her limited ability would not be enough to save it. Lu Corporation was doomed. Chapter 16. I couldn't be bothered to waste more words with her. I turned to leave directly. George, Willow, Sis and I are already getting engaged. Can't you just stay away from us? Stop showing up everywhere. Makoto, who had been ignored the whole time, suddenly snapped, rushing forward to block my way. Willow yanked him back with a scowl, scolding, "What are you going crazy for? You can't help me with anything. Can't you at least stop making trouble?" Her brows furrowed hard. Makoto staggered from her shove, staring at Willow in disbelief at the disgust and rejection in her eyes. That final glimmer of hope in him shattered completely. "I'm the troublemaker?" Makoto suddenly burst into manic laughter, pointing at Willow then at me. "Willow, you regret it, don't you? What do you think? He would ever go back to you? He's George now. Who do you think you are? This time it was you who chose me. So why are you the first to get tired of me?" At last, I understood. Makoto had come back too. No wonder he was unraveling like this. "Shut up." Willow cast me a panicked glance and dragged Makoto up. "Sorry, my brother made a fool of himself." "You call me brother? We're about to get engaged, and you still call me brother?" Makoto shouted relentlessly. Willow frowned but swallowed her temper, lowering her voice to explain, but he wouldn't listen. Their quarrel only grew louder. I pretended not to understand any of it and quickly left the venue. Only when I slid into Alicia's car did I finally exhale hard. She laughed and asked, "What happened? Was a ghost chasing you back there?" I nodded gravely. There was a very scary one. And wasn't that the truth? Even at an event like this, I somehow ran into them. Truly unlucky. Chapter 17. Orange Cat Group's growth was unstoppable. Together with Wong Group's cross-industry collaborations, our alliance was formidable. The results were dazzling. I had become the rising star of the business world, the very definition of success. Now when people spoke of me, I was no longer that foster son of the Wong family, but George of Orange Cat Group. As for Lu Corporation, it was a shadow of its former self. Word was they had sold off many assets, even transferred a large portion of their shares. Even though I remembered the kindness of being raised in my past life and restrained both Wong Group and Orange Cat from crushing Lu like the other clans were eager to, all they could manage was to barely keep their foundation intact. The next time I saw Willow was at a project bidding conference. I sat on the evaluation panel. Willow sat below with Makoto. She glanced at me from afar, then quickly looked away in embarrassment. Once a major player, Lu Corporation was now reduced to being just one of many bidders. I withdrew my gaze, uninterested. During the intermission, I went to the restroom. While washing my hands, Makoto appeared behind me like a shadow. "Let's talk." I glanced at him, dried my hands, and walked into the nearby lounge. He followed. "You've come back too, haven't you? Does it matter?" I asked. He froze, then raised his voice. "Willow abandoned you and chose me. Don't you care?" My face stayed calm. "Hey, she pushed you into that damned Wong family. She knew Madame Wong was nothing but fake. And Alicia, she's not a good person either." "Watch your words." I cut him off. "So now you're defending the Wongs?" He sneered, his eyes venomous. "Oh, I forgot. Now you're Wong Group's precious young master. You really know how to work your way in. Affection is mutual. How you treat others is how they treat you." I replied evenly. Exactly." He threw his head back and laughed wildly. "Do you know what I hate most? That look on you, like you don't need anything from anyone. Why? In our last life, you were taken in by the Lu family, grew up in happiness, even married Willow's sis. And now this life, you ended up in that hellhole Wong family, but you still won their love. Even now, Willow's eyes, she still looks at you. Why? Where did I lose?" Watching his crazed face, I carefully stepped back. "You're mistaken. Willow only likes you. Weren't they engaged already?" He threw his head back and laughed wildly. "Like me? But the one she can't forget isn't me at all. It's the original owner of this bracelet. It's you, George." Chapter 18. He yanked the bracelet off his wrist, his smile uglier than crying. "Do you remember? Back when we were kids at the orphanage, you saved a drowning girl at the gate. She was so beautiful, dressed so richly. So when you went to call the dean Mama, her family came looking. I pretended to be you. I took this necklace. She said she would come back for me. I waited and waited, only to watch her take you away into the Liu family. I couldn't stand seeing you happy, so I deliberately hinted things in front of Willow's sis. She wavered. She was moved. If only I hadn't. His voice twisted with hatred. I just accidentally leaked a bit of information, and Madame Wong wanted to throw me out. And Alicia, that deranged woman. She even wanted people to beat me to death. She did it on purpose. She held a grudge because I left her in that alley. If not for her, I wouldn't have run, wouldn't have had that accident. But luckily, everything got to start over again. Yet now Willow says she doesn't want to marry me anymore. Back then, her eyes were full of only me. At that moment, everything became clear to me. So that was what Willow meant in our last life when she whispered about finding earlier. But poor, naive Makoto. Willow had never yearned for me, George. What she longed for was the unreachable heir of the Wong family. Whether that person was George or Makoto. In our previous life, Makoto was the Wong family's young master. Even if he wasn't favored, the halo and training were real, the untouchable flower on the high ridge. In this life, our roles were reversed, and the unreachable light in Willow's eyes had simply shifted onto me. I glanced toward the doorway and saw Willow standing there at some unknown point, her face full of shock. I shook my head. You're wrong. No, I did nothing wrong. Who are you to look down on me? Makoto, his endless rambling was cut off by Willow's furious roar. You lied to me. You worthless fool. If I hadn't chosen you, how would I have ended up like this? Her eyes bulged red, her breath ragged as she glared at him with hatred. The storm was about to break. I slipped out quickly, pulling the lounge door shut behind me. At the end of the corridor, Alicia stood against the light as if she had been waiting for me for a long time. Not a trace of impatience showed on her face. I strode quickly to her. Sis, let's go. Chapter 19. Makoto stole Liu Corporation's internal documents, handed them straight to a rival. Chaos erupted inside Liu. The company nearly collapsed because Willow had refused to agree to marry him. She had even discussed with her parents the idea of sending him out for a marriage alliance to squeeze out whatever use was left of him. Makoto went completely insane with the twisted thought. If I can't have it, I'll destroy it. He threw himself into the arms of the rival. Barely 2 months after the bidding conference, I heard this news. As for the document theft, I wasn't surprised. In both our past and present lives, Makoto's true colors had never changed. When Alicia told me, I merely laughed and left it at that. But then, something else happened in the Liu family. Willow ended up in the hospital, stabbed by Makoto. It was said that day, Makoto hadn't run far. He was caught by the Liu family. Soft-hearted, they had wanted to talk to, persuade him to turn back. But instead of listening, Makoto pulled out a knife, plunging it toward the Liu mother who had doted on him since childhood. All your fault, you old witch. If you hadn't filled Willow's head with ideas, why would she refuse to marry me? Why would she dare let me marry someone else? Willow rushed forward to shield her. Even if Makoto had wanted to pull back, it was already too late. Now Willow lay in the hospital, her life hanging by a thread. The Liu family's hearts hardened. They handed him straight to the police. Corporate espionage, attempted murder, former. Kodo. The rest of his life would be spent in prison. Chapter 20. A year later, Orange Cat Group was officially listed overseas. The Wong family held a grand celebration banquet for me, inviting countless figures from the political and business worlds. With a poised smile, I mingled with ease, conversing fluently with the leaders from every sector. I was surrounded, praised, flattered. And yet, as my gaze drifted, I caught sight of Willow in the corner. The gown was still fine in design, but the style had long gone out of fashion. At the edges, frayed threads, and where were visible. I only looked once, then withdrew my eyes. That the Liu family could attend this banquet at all was the result of Madame Liu's humble petitioning. At such a gathering filled with elites, they were desperate to seize another chance. Madame Wong, remembering they had once been neighbors, relented enough to allow them in. Now the Liu family was drowning in debt, already moved out of the villa district. When the dancing began, I refused more than a few invitations, and once the guests had scattered, I slipped away alone to the terrace, wanting to breathe a little freely. The night breeze was cool as it brushed my face. As I dazed, Willow appeared quietly beside me. George, her eyes clung to me with a dazed intensity. You've come back too, haven't you? We've been together for so many years, you can't fool me. The night wind seemed to still for a second. Her voice was faint, trembling. Back at the orphanage, you could have claimed me. We once loved each other so deeply. What? I turned to her, my expression calm. I only wanted to choose a path without you. And you happened to choose the same, didn't you? The word struck like a blade of ice, piercing the deepest part of Willow's heart. She staggered back, her face pale as paper under the moonlight. Her lips quivered, trying to form a retort, but not a single word emerged. Yes, it was she who first chose another road. What reason did she have to question me? Her body slumped with defeat as she turned away, her figure hunched as if all strength had been stripped from her. Until her silhouette completely disappeared, I did not shift my gaze. George. A cool, clear voice came from behind me. I turned and saw Alicia. She walked closer, her eyes flicking subtly toward the direction Willow had left. Then she held out a cup of warm honey water. Tired? She asked softly, her tone filled with nothing but genuine care. I accepted the cup, looking at Alicia's delicate profile, then turned toward the banquet hall where Madame Wong was conversing elegantly with the guests. Not tired. I shook my head, bent slightly, and let my forehead rest gently on Alicia's shoulder. Sis, do you know? This life of mine, it's truly been good. A mother strict yet always respectful, a sister small in stature yet forever standing before me, shielding me from the storm. This warmth within my reach, so very real. The betrayals and suffering were now past. In this life, may I shine bright.